So my name is Bridget Henderson. I'm our Director of Professional Services for our enterprise customers here at LeanData.
I'm Janelle Perini, Director of Enterprise Account Management at LeanData. And my career path started in advertising and marketing as a sales rep. And I quickly found my way into the SaaS area, mainly because I loved technology and I loved supporting the go-to-market teams.
My name is Katerina Goyo. I am the Director of Project Management within Professional Services. I've been with LeanData for 5.5 years, and when I was specifically brought into LeanData's Professional Services to build out a project management function. So we have now matured as an organization, and we have a fully functioning team that helps support all of our enterprise customers and even some mid-market customers.
I'm Kurt Jurgens, Director of Solution Consulting at LeanData. I started my career as a solution consultant at a company called Zora, and then I transitioned to come into LeanData to be a full stack engineer. And then some point at being a full stack engineer at LeanData, I switched over to being more customer facing, taking on a solution engineering role. And now I've transitioned into being the Director of Solution Engineering.
Hi, I'm Robin Rourke, and I am Chief of Staff here at LeanData.
Self-advocacy to me is the ability to communicate and fight for yourself and things you believe in.
I would define self-advocacy as just promoting yourself and your own brand.
Self-advocacy for me is being able to showcase your value so you can achieve desired outcomes. It makes you look better, it helps your manager, and nobody wants to do detective work and try to find out what is it that you're doing, what is it that you're contributing, but everyone would love to hear about it. Everybody loves to celebrate and get inspired from their team members. Everyone wants to work with the A-stars. Definitely helps when you can showcase your work and others can align accordingly.
I would say I define self-advocacy as making competence, impact, and value visible. And I would say doing it without waiting for permission. So clarity around what you're responsible for, the outcomes you're driving, and the impact your work is having on the business. Throughout my career, that it's shown up in how I proactively kind of communicate results, ask for alignment on expectations, and making sure the work I'm doing is understood in the context of broader goals. So it's not just assumed.
So early in my career, I thought self-advocacy was really about speaking up. I thought it was about volume. And what I realized as I kind of grew up, right, in tech is that self-advocacy is really more about intent and impact. And that we all come to the table kind of in an intersectionality of privilege and disadvantage. And so like me being a woman in tech didn't make me somehow, needing to advocate more than maybe a person of color or somebody coming from a non-traditional background. And so I really over the years have switched my feelings about self-advocacy being more in regards to needing to speak up, not because of who I am, but because the business has high impact or there's a risk or silence is going to create, failure, right, or fear. And that's really how it's evolved.
I think it's shown up in my work by the growth I've had here at LeanData. I think I've been able to have a successful career path here because I've advocated and promoted for myself in conjunction with the great managers I've had over the years.
My first job out of college, I was hired at the entry level for my position as a solution consultant, and I was able to successfully self-advocate myself to get more responsibility and take on more on the projects I was on, to the point where I was doing basically the level of a level 3 at that role. But then I failed to self-advocate myself, the ability to actually get promoted even to level 2, even though I was doing the work of level 3.
Inside of work, it brought me balance in my personal life as well. Sometimes we doubt ourselves and get frustrated, so taking a more thoughtful approach to how you would like to be presented, what your personal brand is, will generally help you achieve a better balance and will give you a clearer picture of where you stand professionally and personally. Looking back, self-advocacy in professional setting especially is something that took me some time to get used to. And I was not able to get a promotion that I was going after at some point in my career. And I was talking to my manager to see what exactly was blocking me. And that's what he said. He said, you do a lot of amazing work, but nobody knows about it. So there's a lot to celebrate, there's a lot to be proud of, but people need to hear about it. It's 50% of work that you do is just about doing it, and the other 50% is showcasing it to people.
If you don't ask, the answer is always no. But I took that very literal in multiple senses, not just in the sales front, asking for the business sort of speak, but also in your career path, right? For various reasons, maybe your manager didn't realize you were interested in something, or it just didn't come up. So just really looking for avenues or ways can further your career. Um, and opportunities that present itself or in opportunities that you see and that you can help define.
Yeah, one thing I learned is that the default answer to a lot of questions is going to be no or a rejection. So it's actually very hard to advocate for yourself because you have to push past that initial rejection or that no and really push for the things that you believe in. So don't just ask once and just receive the answer and give up. You kind of got to push multiple times and kind of do what you can to keep working on your advocacy, keep working on promoting what you're trying to achieve, be that a promotion or a new responsibility at work, and kind of prove that you can get there. So for example, if you want to take on like a much larger project, do what you can in your medium level projects to get to the point where you're going to be responsible, or they allow you to be responsible for a bigger project and more responsibility.
So one self-advocacy skill I had to learn the hard way was setting and protecting boundaries. Early in my career, I thought saying yes to everything showed up as commitment. What I learned over time is that it actually just diluted my impact and made expectations less clear. So if I could go in back into my career, my earlier career days, and tell myself one thing, it would be just protect your boundaries. Isn't a lack of ambition. It's really how you sustain impact.
One of the things that I had to learn the hard way was giving up control. I thought self advocacy meant that I owned a lot and that I had a lot. And what I learned over the years, especially in leadership and the type of role that I have, that when I control too much, I really am robbing others of the opportunity to learn and grow and become better for themselves.
I think I decide something is worth advocating for when it's really significantly impacting outcomes. So whether that's customer results or team effectiveness, or maybe even my ability to deliver, what I'm accountable for. I also like to think about just timing and leverage. If speaking up early can prevent bigger issues later, that's usually a signal worth addressing.
If it's something about your role, is it a priority? Does it help you expand in your current role or grow to the next role you want to be in? Does it help with team culture? Is it something that maybe doesn't expand your career but helps expand your brand here at LeanData or where you go elsewhere? The Valley seems big. There's a lot of companies here, but it's quite small. So you want to make sure you have that great personal brand for yourself.
There's, I hate to say it this way, but there's a gut feel of like this is meaningful, this matters. It's tied to more than just status or title or progress. It's also, is this aligned with our culture? Is this aligned with our values? For me, it's also really making sure that I work at a company and with people that are aligned to my personal values and my personal worth, so that there isn't a great misalignment between advocating for myself and where I see the strategic direction of the company or the behavior of its leaders, right, for what we tolerate or what we don't. And that's really where I think, it matters to me.
One thing that's really important about deciding what you should advocate for is that you should really think it through and really think about all the different ways that you could be refuted or that people can push back on. I think the more you can think about it ahead of time, the more the more it becomes a concrete thing you believe in, the stronger and easier it is for you to advocate for it. If you do things based on just like reaction or just like a small thought or conversation, you won't really have the ability to think it through and kind of have those like strong points of like basis of, hey, I really believe in this. This is really something I want, and I'm going to do what I can to get there.
I'd like to share one phrase that I recently learned, and it says, "Don't dim your lights to make others feel better." As I previously mentioned, I come from outside of US. It was a pretty patriarchal community, and where women were taught to be a certain way, more timid, more quiet. And it was my project to reinvent myself. And since those qualities are not compatible with leadership, definitely don't worry about others, don't worry about others' opinions, be yourself, be true to yourself.
I really try to be intentional about making goals and setting expectations early, especially with my team. I really like to align on, what success looks like, how it's measured, and really what the priorities are. And then for feedback, I would say I try not to wait for feedback to find me. So I try to be proactive. I usually try to ask, asking, what's working, what's not, and where could I have more impact.
So I see feedback as a gift, whether it's delivered well, whether you believe in what was given or not, it's still a gift. It's data that you need to, what's the right word? I think you need to be able to reflect and decide if that feedback is in alignment with your authentic self, and being open to seeing how others perceive you and how that work then shapes long term. And as somebody who self-advocates, I think it's really important when you get feedback to immediately show up curious, not defensive, not persuasive, not trying to get the other person to see it your way, but instead to be able to say, okay, this is a data point. This is a moment for me to reflect about how am I showing up? Do I agree with it? And am I open to adapting, to being able to do it differently, especially when we're talking about ways of working? Those are really easy to be able to adapt in the moment and still feel like you're showing up as who you are, but also willing to meet somebody else halfway.
Better or for worse, I'm a very direct person, so it comes very naturally for me, which makes it easier, right? So for me, I'm always asking when I'm new to something, what I can be doing better, what I could be learning, and what are the areas for growth. I think that's something you can continually ask yourself and others in the space so that you just have that natural growth. I think if you don't know where you're at, you can't get to the next level. So again, using the resources you have available to you, but also seeking out mentorship from those who are successfully doing it today so you can learn from them as well.
Yeah, I think it's important to show interest in what you're trying to get to or what level you're trying to get to and kind of be open about it with your managers or other people you talk to. So particularly at LeanData, I've had people under me who have gone from a position under my team to other positions at LeanData. And during that process, I would ask them, hey, where you want to go next? What are you kind of thinking of your next role? And some of them told me, hey, they want to do more engineering work. I want to do more product management work. And we were able to kind of work with those people to get to that level and slowly move them in that direction. And I think one thing that's nice about LeanData is we have a culture of allowing people to switch teams and do things that they want to do in their career. And that's not just in engineering, that's across the whole company. In sales, we've had people go to different positions. And so it's a really good place to kind of have those opportunities. But if you never mention it or never tell your manager or someone else on the team that you think about going in that direction, they're not going to have the ability to move you there. So I think it's just be open, communicate, and try to ideate and try to figure out what you want to do. And just keep on mentioning those things as they come up, and hopefully we can get you to that level.
I view career development as a 3-step process. Step number 1, define your North Star. You cannot pave a path if you don't know where you're going. At least start with a 5-year plan, get an idea of where you'd like to end up, potentially see, it can change, and that's fine, but you need to know where you're going. Number 2 is integrate in the community. So that would be trying to find a mentor, a person in a position that you aspire to be in. Join communities, any local events, networking as much as possible. That way you get integrated, you became a part of it, it shapes your mentality, it adds on to your vocabulary, you start learning how to be in that space just by being a part of that community. So number 3 is resilience. So when you are making changes in your life, if you're trying to achieve big goals, you will fail. There's no way around it. You're gonna fail, and you're gonna fail multiple times. I noticed that the people that generally end up succeeding with their endeavors are the ones that are resilient. At one point, I wanted to switch from one focus area to another, and it was really hard. I was not getting much luck, and my mentor at the time, she told me persistence beats resistance. That really resonated with me and kind of gave me more inspiration to continue moving forward. And shortly after, I got a job offer for a position that I was trying to get for so long.
You have to decide what's important for you to, have as a goalpost and where you want to be, but also working with mentors to understand kind of their path and journey and what you can learn from that. And if it makes sense for you to do something similar, or they can also advise, maybe you have strengths you don't recognize or areas of growth you don't recognize, and that's something a mentor should be able to help guide you on and hopefully be very direct about, so that you know exactly where you are and where you can grow.
I really define success as having just a meaningful impact in a place where expectations are clear, feedback is direct, and just the work actually matters. For me, it's really not about for me, I would say it's about building things that scale and leaving teams stronger than I found them. I mean, I can try and give an example here. So, I have had people, reach out to me like, how did you get into management? Like you had success, as an IC, what did you do to get to that point? And, one of the things that I feel that was part of that success was just documenting the things that I were doing that was working. And sharing that with others, right? Not holding it in for myself, for only me to see. So definitely just documenting the successes, the workflows or sales plays that were efficient and effective and that helped the customer. And being able to just share that, with others, I think was a big piece of it.
For me, success consists of 3 pillars. 1 is intellectual challenge, 2 is personal happiness, and 3 is creative expression. I constantly self-reflect and try to understand how I feel. Am I fulfilled in each one of those areas? And as soon as I start feeling deficits, I evaluate how can I fill those deficits. Do I need to change my direction? Do I need to take a new path? A lot of success is about feeling. You have to be happy with where you are. You don't have to worry about where you think you should be, as long as it aligns with your heart. I think that's the most important part.
Yeah, I think success in your own career is doing something that you enjoy and you're passionate about, but also provides you some rewarding components as well. So for me, being someone who works a lot with customers, the success of my customers and the satisfaction of my customers is something that really motivates me in work. I personally find the most value when I'm doing things for others. When I'm doing things for myself, it doesn't have that same weight to it. So I always want a job or a career where I'm helping others and doing things for other people, because to me, that's the most satisfaction I can get in the role, and also a role where I'm constantly learning and improving and things that I think is important. So for me, that's both having the experience of coding
as well as getting to communicate and be strategic about how I work with customers and giving them advice and suggestions on what I think is best for their business.
And so for me, success really looks like, do I go to bed every night with the right type of tired, right? So I reflect at the end of the day and go like, oh man, today might have been tough, but it was like a good tough. I was challenged in the right ways. I worked with really cool people. We solved a good problem. And then I wake up in the morning feeling the right amount of refreshed. So I'm not driving into the office like, oh God, right? I don't want to be here. Or sitting in the parking lot afraid to go into the office. Are you getting the right feedback, right? Is that feedback given in a way that really gives you opportunity to adapt, to grow, to be able to do things differently? Are you also receiving some amount of positive feedback, right? So I think it's important when we think about feedback, we often think about the negative side of it, of getting the critical, right, pieces, but there's also a positive piece. Are you being told, do more of this, right? Reinforcing this. I think it comes down to, are your personal values of how you want to, move through the world aligned to the company's values and how your people show up at that company, right? And so I'm a big believer that at the end of the day, you kind of are the company you keep. And so if you're showing up at a company and going like, man, everybody around here is a jerk, but I'm amazing, right? Well, but are you? Because you're tolerating, like you live what you tolerate, right, as well. And so if you're willing to work in an environment that's pretty terrible and toxic, I think it's also saying something about, either being the change to help change that, or recognizing that you might be a part of the problem too.
I feel like success in the career, for me is defined by, am I where I should be right now, right? And that can vary in different points in your life, right? Everyone tells you to have like, your 5, 10, 15-year plan. Um, but there's always going to be things that happen in your life and different things that happen, right? People start families, they move, they have changes in different priorities. So just meeting yourself where you're at and having those realistic expectations and just, knowing that you're putting your all into it. So for me, being successful right now is showing up in my role and pushing to get to the next level. That's where I'm at right now. But for some folks, success may mean just getting by. They might have other things going on and they just want to perform at, the base level. They're not ready for the next steps yet. So I think just understanding, are you pushing for the next level right now, or are you comfortable where you're at because of other circumstances? And just, again, meeting yourself at that point and knowing what that success is to you. There's a good chance you're not going to be progressing in your role because you're not seeing each other at the same lens, right? So I think that, with our reviews, that's actually a good exercise to see, are you meeting each other where the other person's at? Are your reviews aligned? And if they're significantly different, why? Is it a perception thing? Maybe self-advocacy is something you're still working on and you need to be able to show better what you're doing. Or maybe it's just you and your manager have different expectations of your role and your output, right? So I think to make sure you're on the right path, you just need to make sure you have that alignment with leadership as well as the company, right? Like you mentioned, the company culture as well. You have to make sure to, kind of fit into that culture, and it's the culture you want to be a part of. I know for me, I've been at other companies where the company culture wasn't as strong and I wasn't as willing to put in as much effort because it didn't mean as much to me. So making sure you have your your output as well as your values aligned, I think goes a long way. And knowing if you're at the right place. And any given company is not going to be right for everyone. So really just taking a step back and making sure you're at a place that works well for you.